Good evening and welcome to the 4th annual NTTV SportsZone Draft Special. We are here just officially 1 week away from the NFL Draft, and we're here to break it all down. We're going to look at everything from film breakdown, from hot takes. We're going to talk about everything today. Of course, I'm your host, Lucero. Joining me to talk about the mock drafts coming up first, Rohan Srinivasan and Ian Cropper. Guys, there's nothing that says draft like a good first-round mock draft, and I can't wait to get into it. We have some different takes, different picks. We got some trades. We got it all going on. So, Ian, start us off with your first-round mock draft.
Yeah, so this is an exciting draft, and I do think we're going to get at least one big trade in the top 10 that shapes how the entire rest of the draft goes. For me, that happens at number 3, where after 2 fairly obvious picks in Fernando Mendoza to the Raiders and Arvell Reese to the Jets, we get a huge bombshell when the Cowboys send the number 12 pick this year, 4th and 5th round selections this year, and their own first next year to the Arizona Cardinals to select Sonny Styles, linebacker out of Ohio State. Now, there's a couple reasons why I think this makes sense. One, the Cowboys need a kind of player that Sonny Styles provides. He is the kind of Roquan Smith, Fred Warner field general who just elevates an entire defensive unit. The second is that I think the Cardinals can still get someone they need at 12. They need an offensive lineman. I think Spencer Fano is there, but if not, I think Maui Goa or Monroe Freeling are there. I also think that Jerry Jones wants to earn back some goodwill from Cowboys fans after trading away Micah Parsons, and getting someone like Styles helps with that. Finally, I think if he's still available at number 5, the Giants would be primed to select a linebacker. That is their biggest need. So getting Sonny Styles at 3 deprives him from a division rival. So I do think that pick makes a lot of sense.
Ian, I love Sonny Styles. I mean, just to give you some example, I have him as my number 2 player in this entire draft. I think he's an incredible, so much more than just a linebacker. This is a chess piece that can be used really all over the field, and he has proven that ability all throughout his college career, and he's just had an incredible combine. Everything that you can do to rise your draft stock, Sonny Styles has done that. As we look at some highlights here, this is a game wrecker in Sonny Styles. I mean, this is, yes, an off-ball linebacker, and typically those don't go that high, but this isn't a player that can do just so much more than that, disrupting all over the field. He is absolutely incredible. But guys, the one concern I have here is the Cowboys moving up all the way to 3. You talked about what it would take to give up. That's a lot, and that's a hefty price to pay for a Cowboys team that isn't usually willing to do that. They haven't traded up in the first round since 2012 with Morris Claiborne. So obviously this would be a big-time move for a big-time player. Ian, what makes you think that this is the time to make the move?
Well, I already mentioned the Micah Parsons situation and the sorry state of the defense. Like I said, Sonny Styles is definitely the kind of player that can elevate an entire unit. But it's also worth considering Jerry's getting up there in years. Like, this might not be his final draft, but it's probably one of the last few. He'll want to leave a mark on the team, and he does love his superstars. I think Sonny Styles can be that type of massive impact defensive player.
But we do realize that for the Dallas Cowboys having a pick at 12 and 20, making a pick for Sonny Styles, what would you have to give up? Now, in this draft, I feel like it's very defensive heavy. Some player will fall into your lap, and I guarantee that. So stick at 12 and 20. I like the mock draft at 3. I like Sonny Styles, don't get me wrong, but it's such a defensive heavy draft that you can get the player that you want at 12.
Yeah, there's a lot of great defenders, and you have, Ian, Arvell Reese going at 2, and maybe most surprisingly, David Bailey falling all the way to number 7. These are 2 prospects that are often mocked at 1 and 2. A lot of people are comparing the 2 players. Who should go first? You clearly have Reese. What do you think sets him apart?
Well, I don't think the Jets need a pure edge as much, since they do still have Will McDonald. I think linebacker is a bigger need. Honestly, I did kind of debate for a while whether I wanted to give them Reese or Styles when I was forming my mock drafts. But I think the difference with Reese is that he is more of that linebacker edge hybrid. And even though they do have Will McDonald, they could still use a monster on the pass rush. I do think that's what Reese provides. He was just phenomenal on this Ohio State defense. I could also see them going David Bailey, and David Bailey, no knock against him. I have him falling just purely as a circumstance of the team's picking. I think they have more pressing needs in edge rusher until you get to Washington, where, quite frankly, I'm not convinced Clavon Chason and Javon Kinlaw are the long-term solutions there. But Reese is a monster, and Bailey's falling is through no fault of his own.
And we can have the debate about Arvell Reese and David Bailey. However, Arvell Reese has made one thing clear in the postgame press conference last year: getting to the quarterback. Is he a linebacker? Is he an edge rusher? He has made it proven now that he wants to get to the quarterback. And I feel like at 2 and 3, you cannot make a mistake there. I would go with any player if you ask me.
Yeah, it's hard to really go wrong. These are 2 excellent prospects. It's just going to be a matter of who the Jets prefer. We'll have to see, and we'll talk a little bit more about that a little later on. Sure. But you also have Caleb Downs going at 5 to New York. definitely a big rise for the safety, an elite prospect from Ohio State. What makes you think the Giants make the move that high?
Well, like I said, I think New York's biggest need in this class is linebacker, but with both of the Ohio State premier linebackers gone in those first 3 picks, I think Caleb Downs becomes the obvious selection. Now, I've seen some people mock wide receiver to the Giants. I think that's a little greedy. They did just sign Darnell Mooney. He's not like this super elite player, but I do think he is a stopgap wide receiver too, alongside Malik Neighbors. So then your priority becomes the secondary, and Caleb Downs, big body player, can be strong safety, free safety, even nickelback if you need him to. I think he'll be great in John Harbaugh's new defense.
All right, lots to look at. Take me through the rest of this first round, Ian. Obviously, you have a lot going on here. Take me through the highlights. Tell me some of your main picks.
Right, so the Rams are another pick where people have them getting greedy. To be fair, both Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams are going to be free agents in 2027. But I think if they want to maximize their window to win now, Monroe Freeling out of Georgia, tackle, is the pick. Ruben Bain at 14, that I think is a bigger fall than David Bailey. Again, no knock on his talent. And the Ravens do have bigger needs than defensive end, particularly with the interior of that offensive line. But if Ruben Payne's available at 14, then that's just a no-brainer of a pick. Kenyon Sadiq at 19 of the Panthers, I think that's very much his floors, because like with the edges, teams above just have more pressing needs. But Sadiq fills an immediate need there. I do think he's better than Tommy Trimble. If you're getting Trey McBride comparisons, that's a great sign. Vega Ioane, guard out of Penn State to the Chargers. Again, that's more towards his floor, but with how bad that Chargers offensive line was, I do think it's necessary. The Bills trading down from 26 to get, for the Raiders to get Omar Cooper to pair him with Mendoza. I mean, Mendoza's getting Joe Burrow comparisons, might as well give him his Jamar Chase. And finally, the first round ends with a bang with Ty Simpson getting picked at number 32 with the Steelers trading with the Seahawks. The Seahawks only have 4 picks in this draft, so I think them trading back to get someone like Jadarian Price in the second is a good move. And the Steelers get a quarterback they can develop for a year, presuming Aaron Rodgers does return.
Yeah, I think that'd be an excellent move. A lot to go on here. But Rohan, I want to get into your mock draft next. Take me through it. Take me through your top picks as we put them on the board.
All right, let's do it. So I want to make one thing clear here. It's very hard to predict draft day trades. However, I do have one at 16 and 13. Rams looking for extra draft capital, while the Jets are a rebuilding team. We can talk about their quarterback, but they're a rebuilding team if you ask me. Now, for the Cowboys in perspective, you got 12 and 20. What are you going to do with it? With Caleb Downs being here, I like this dude, man. He is 6 feet tall, 195, 200 pounds, ran a 4.40 in the 40-yard dash. That is absolutely unbelievable. One of the best of any safety you will ever see. So what I'm trying to say here is that at 12 and 20, you can make that Caleb Downs pick because you can take a chance on Jermod McCoy at cornerback. He had that ACL injury in last January. We can get into that a little bit later, but Caleb Downs is my player. He's got quick hands, and he is the player to be for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, we look at Caleb Downs' highlights just here, and it just feels like this is a player that, yes, he's a safety, but man, he can do so much more than that.
He can also stop the run.
Yes, he can stop the run. He can work in the box. He can work up high. This is a player that is so versatile, and safeties, though, do have a tendency to fall in drafts. We saw it with Kyle Hamilton, with Derwin James over the years. If the Cowboys have a chance to land a premier player at 12, I think Caleb Downs might just be the guy that falls to them. That'd be huge for Dallas.
I mean, honestly, my only issue with that pick is that I think Caleb Downs is too good to be there by number 12. I had him going at number 5. I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Washington, New Orleans, even Cincinnati took him. I especially don't know why Cincinnati is taking Jordan Tyson at 10 when they already have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
And that's what they do. And even with your mock draft, you had David Bailey at 7, so we can also debate that a bit later. But for the Cowboys, I do want to point out with your Sonny Styles trade, I like that. It's just something that the Cowboys don't do, as you pointed out, rightly so, Steven. So for this draft in general, I really like my mock draft, if you ask me. What about you, Stephen?
Well, it's very interesting, and I want to continue before we get into the rest of it with the Cowboys, because this is a huge draft for Dallas. 2 first-round picks for the first time in a very long time, and you have at 20 Jermod McCoy.
Absolutely.
This is a very interesting prospect, because if he's in the draft perhaps last year, this is an undisputed top 10, top 5 pick. However, tears his ACL and misses the entirety of 2025. These highlights right here are from 2024 when he was absolutely lighting up the league at Tennessee. I mean, he was just one of the best cornerbacks in the nation, and he proved that he is capable. However, that torn ACL has a lot of teams concerned about that knee and whether or not he's going to be ready and healthy to come draft time. What makes you think the Cowboys make the move at 20?
Right, he even had 13 solo tackles and 3 interceptions in a 6-game span. Let's take a moment to realize that. But with Jermod McCoy, he had the ACL surgery last January. Now, with the Dallas Cowboys, and you and I have debated this for a while now, going from a 4-3 to a 3-4 defense, very passer-friendly, especially in deep coverage. When Jermod McCoy stands with Kobe Durant, DeMarion Overshown, whoever you want, and Deron Bland as well, that defense, from what we saw last year, Steven, under Matt Eberflus, was unbelievable. Playing zone coverage every single time, playing prevent defense on 4th and 3rd at Carolina, he doesn't know what he's doing. However, new defense coordinator in Christian Parker, he exactly knows what he's doing, and he has the personnel finally to run man. And like I said, Jermod McCoy, high risk, high reward. Let's see how he does. I only want this because of the fact that we have Caleb Downs at 12. You can take a chance now at number 20 with him.
Yep, certainly high risk, high reward. For me, it's just a matter of will the Cowboys be willing to make that risk? I am not so sure, but we'll have to see. Rohan, keep taking me through some of these picks.
Well, absolutely, and I know you want to talk about the Denzel Boston pick, huh?
Yeah, that is quite high. I have him going to the Patriots at 31. What makes you give him to Carolina at 19?
It's just a typical Carolina move. So like the Dallas Cowboys not trading up, I get it that that's what should happen, but is that what will happen? And that's the whole thing about this situation when making a mock draft. You can't predict draft day trades, but can you predict a wide receiver like Denzel Boston of the Panthers? I absolutely think that they can. They're not some smart franchise that makes great picks, mind you. So with the Dallas Cowboys here with 2 first-round picks, I believe that they are very well set, if you ask me.
All right, very interesting. A few more players here as we go through the back half of it. Rohan, anyone else that sticks out to you?
What about that last pick right there?
Yeah.
You need a running back, let's go get one. And I know you and I have debated about this, right? Jeremiah Love, will he go at 4 to the Titans having Tony Pollard? And I want to get your opinion on that real quick.
It's going to be very interesting. I love him as a prospect. I think he's a great player. However, I don't think the Seahawks go running back in the first round.
Sure.
Whether or not they decide to trade down, do something like that, we'll have to see. But I don't think they go in the first round. We'll have to watch.
Right. I actually do agree with Steven there. I do have them picking Jadarian Price in the second, but I think they trade down with Pittsburgh or someone like that to get there. Picking Jadarian Price at 32, even though he's a great running back, would be a bit of an overpayment in my opinion.
Sure, and to finish off with this, the Dallas Cowboys running a 3-4 defense for the first time since 2012 under Rex Ryan. Can they do better under Christian Parker? Back-to-back 7-win seasons. You want to turn things around, you want to dominate on both sides of the ball, this is the pick you need to make right here.
All right, Rohan, I'm going to scoot
Sure.
right past you and join this conversation. Get into my mock draft because, guys, I have a kind of a mix of each of yours. I have some similar picks. And, I mean, I got to start off with number 1 because Fernando Mendoza, as much as, you know, it kind of feels like the guarantee, I mean, we got to talk about it, right? I just think he's the number 1 pick in this draft, and it's going to be very interesting 2 and 3 for me. This is David Bailey and Arvell Reese. This could flip either direction. David Bailey is the proven prospect. He went to Texas Tech, lit up the boards with sacks, TFLs, basically everything you can imagine. However, you have Arvell Reese, and this is a player that we're banking on potential for him. Obviously did not have quite the production, but this is a linebacker / edge. He was a chess piece at Ohio State, did a lot of different things. His potential, I think it's at a Micah Parsons level. This is through the roof. If he can focus on edge rushing, to me, that is the high ceiling. David Bailey, he's got the high floor. We'll see what the Jets do. I think they go safe with David Bailey. Jeremiah Love at 4. This is one that I went back and forth on a lot. I'm not confident in it just because the Titans, they have Tony Pollard, they have Tajay Spears. It's not the biggest need, but I just wonder they tried to trade back here. I don't know if there's going to be that team that's willing to make the move, though. So for me, I think you just got to go best player on the board. This is my number 1 prospect in this draft. I think they go Jeremiah Love. Where it gets a little crazy for me, I have wide receivers going a lot earlier than people expect. Carnell Tate at 5 and Mekhi Lemon at 6. The Giants and Browns teams, you know, the Giants maybe don't need a wide receiver. They have Malik Neighbors, but I think they have just so much talent offensively. They have Scattaboo. Pair him with Carnell Tate, I think it could be incredible. The thing with the Giants, they brought in a whole lot of wide receivers in their top 30 visits. And guys, you're going to hear me mention this a few times. Top 30 visits. This is something I value a whole lot. Teams, if you don't know what a top 30 visit is, they have a chance to bring in 30 prospects in this week, month leading up to the draft. And these are the guys that they are just showing an interest in. It's sort of like a job interview for the NFL. So for me, of these 32 picks, 22 of them visited with their teams. This is a stat that is interesting, and it can vary from team to team. Obviously, you're going to see trades, you're going to see all kinds of stuff that can make that, adjustment. However, I want to talk about the Cowboys next because they're a team that rarely sways away from their top 30 visits. In the last 20 years, since 2006, only 4 players were non-top 30 visits. Those were Morris Claiborne in 2012. Who knows? They may make a trade like that again. that you had CeeDee Lamb in 2020 because of COVID, couldn't do the visit. And then you had Tyler Smith and Tyler Guyton. So it's very rare that they stray. That's why I have Caleb Downs, the other main man from Ohio State, to the Cowboys at 12. You talked about it, Ian. He might be gone by this point, and I hope not for Dallas. They love him as a prospect, and I think that if he's there, they will snag him at 12 in a heartbeat. For the other Cowboys pick, I had them trading down all the way to 27 with the San Francisco 49ers to pick up another top 30 visit in Cassius Howell. This is a player out of Texas A&M who is very interesting. He had a great production season last year. However, the concern is arm length. Same exact thing with Ruben Bain. The short arms are a concern to teams. This is a guy, even shorter arms. The Cowboys like him, though. I would not mind him at 27. Pick up an extra pick from the 49ers. They move up, take Caden Proctor, an incredible tackle. He fell a little bit. I think the 49ers stopped the slide and take advantage. A few more things I have going on here. Kenyon Sadiq picked at 15. The Browns trading up all the way from 24 to take this incredible tight end that we talked about, that we're going to talk about a little more. This is a player.
Browns?
Yeah, this is a player that is so much more than a tight end. You know, he can be almost a wide receiver for you. And notably, the Browns, the only one that have had an official visit with him so far. I think they go up and make the move. So, guys, you know, there's a lot going on here. Anything sticks out to you want to talk about?
Well, I do particularly love the back half of your draft. I'm not so sure about Kenyon Sadiq to the Browns because they already have Harold Fenton, but I do love most of these picks. There are two I want to talk about. First is C.J. Allen to my Buffalo Bills. I do love the fit there. I have them trading back, like I said, with the Raiders. C.J. Allen is the player I ended up having them take. It was between him and Malachi Lawrence, but I do think he raises the floor. The other pick is Kristen Miller. I don't agree with that because even though they need defensive tackle, C.J. Stroud has been dying without offensive line help, so I think they take O-line there.
And just real quick, both of y'all have draft day trades for the Dallas Cowboys. I don't. The pick will fall to you. I guarantee it.
All right, we'll have to see. But, guys, we are going to move on and talk about some more of these players coming up in offensive film study. Coming up next after this break.
I'm so tired. I feel ugly. I'm not okay. I didn't know UNT had counseling services. Maybe I should check it out. This looks like the place.
Why should you join Talons?
We are very welcoming to people who may be a little bit hesitant. There's people currently right now in our organization who are in leadership positions who were hesitant before to join, and they found out that they just loved the organization and wanted to be a bigger part of it. They post about the football games, everything they're doing, all their events that they host.
What's the best part about Talons?
I would say meeting new people, because the university, while it's a kind of small campus in terms of like physical land, there's a ton of people here. And so getting to meet all these people who have so much school spirit and love for this university and wants to spread that to other people, it's kind of like a little miniature family that we're in.
Welcome back to the SportsZone Draft Special. We just ran through our mock drafts, talked a whole lot of prospects, and now we're going to single in on some of the best offensive prospects in this draft. Joining me to talk about it, Dominic Franks and Beth Spicer. Guys, you picked out some of your top players from throughout the offense of this draft, and these are some players that really want to highlight, talk about some stats, break down some film. Let's get right into it with our main man, Dom, the presumed number one pick, Fernando Mendoza.
Yes, I have Fernando Mendoza coming out of Indiana. He is the quarterback for them, and he just won a Heisman. He led the league in yards and touchdowns, 3,535 yards with 41 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. So let's go ahead and roll some tape and see what we look at. He's a passer with great rhythm. He's ready to throw the ball whenever, and he does great on those fade routes to the outside pylon. And then, you know, getting out to the outside of the field, across the field, he's great at that too. Ready to throw to the outside shoulder, fearless, and, you know, just ready to throw the ball to whoever needs it. Amazing on third downs and in the red zone. He had 39 touchdowns in the red zone and 0 interceptions, and he's constantly hitting those moving targets that needs to be hit. Great in the second levels, and then, again, amazing at hitting those outside corner shots. And he's already ready to move if need be, and whenever the defense is laying back, ready for the pass, because, he's great at that too. So getting to that outside edge and speeding in front of the defense and ready to take a hit whenever he needs to.
Yeah, Fernando Mendoza is a player that obviously wins the Heisman, wins the national championship, just does just about everything you can do at the collegiate level. This is a player that has had a chip on his shoulder for a lot of his career, and he is willing to win ugly. He'll run, he'll scramble, he'll make the play happen. Take me through some of these stats here because they're pretty incredible.
Right, of course. Led the NCAA in touchdowns. At a school that no one expected, like Indiana, that's something unheard of. This kid was, not really a pick if you were following the draft before this year. And then Indiana comes out of nowhere with their fearless head coach and makes Mendoza the supposed #1 draft pick if the Raiders decide to take him. And then these passing yards, you don't see that every day. In the NFL, you do tend to get to those 4,000 marks, but not in college. You don't get that high. And then, getting to that 6 interceptions, that's a low number.
Yeah, Mendoza was incredible, and he is expected to be the #1 pick as deserved. But however, I want to talk next about my #1 prospect on my big board in this draft, and that is one Jeremiah Love.
What is to say about Jeremiah Love? He is one of the best this season, and let's look at his film. Jeremiah has almost run 900 yards after contact, which is honestly insane for a player to run that long without anything. He only has 1 fumble his whole collegiate career, and he has a PFF score of 93.1, which is huge for him going into the NFL. He has a ton of speed on his flanks and has maybe be the best running back since Adrian Peterson. Let's just look at him. Again, I already mentioned speed, but this man is literally unreal with the way he finds holes within plays, and he's just always there for somehow he does it every single time, and I'm just amazed every time I see this man play. He came out being recruited into college as a top 100 out of high school, which I think is enough praise by itself, honestly. And I think he's shown himself in college growing. His PFF score has only grown since he's been in college, and he's just done amazing things. I know we just talked about Indiana and how good their quarterback is, but they just cannot keep up with this man. He is too fast for them. He is just that good. So for me, I think Love is just that player of this generation doing everything that he does. And honestly, Dominic, who else have you seen like Jeremiah Love at all in college recently? Because I don't know if I have.
Yeah, it's definitely something interesting because you don't see a guy like Jeremiah Love. He's shifty, and he's also big, so he's ready to take those hits when he needs to, and he's willing to move through contact. But I do have someone just like him that I think, if you do follow Notre Dame, I think you know them just as well. I do have his backup running back, Jadarian Price, who, just like Jeremiah Love, is, that contact guy. And just looking back at Jeremiah Love, take a look at these stats.
He has almost 200 carries. He has almost 1,400 rushing yards, and rushing touchdowns 18. And honestly, again, who else is doing this? Because I don't think they are. I think the only answer is Jeremiah Love, and I'm just so impressed. And also, I love Notre Dame because I love saying the Fighting Irish, and I think that makes him even more of a better player in my defense.
Yeah, not to mention averaging around 8 yards per carry. This is just a player that, through all his touches, whether that's on the ground or in the air, he just finds a way to make a play. Dual threat running back, he's incredible. But Dom, you talked about the other Notre Dame running back, and it's very rare that we see the 2 best players at a position coming from a single school. This is just something that we don't usually see. But tell me, Dom, about Jadarian Price.
Right, Jadarian Price is the backup running back for the Notre Dame, and you're right. You don't see that often. You don't see the number 1, 2 running back being the number 2 running back in the draft. He has an extremely good size and speed for him, and let's look at these tape just to show how that size and speed works. He's willing to find that hole in the offensive line and willing to take that bump off the tackle to gain those extra yards. He's great on inside zones, outside stretches, whichever one you need. He's willing to go to that pylon that's closest to him and make sure that he can score that. The only problem really with him is that he does have security problems with the ball. He's fumbled 3 times and 2 of them being near the end zone, but he is also willing to make that jump towards the goal line. to make sure that he can get that touchdown. And as well as, running the ball great, he does great at kickoff returns, returning 3 of them this year for touchdowns. And he can still, take off that tackle and make sure that he fights for his team as the second option and still willing to fight no matter if there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys next to him. And he has the speed to go the distance from the 50 all the way to the goal line wherever he's needed, even though he's behind arguably the best running back in the draft, Jeremiah Love.
Those 2 fighting Irish running backs show a whole lot of fight as we watch through this tape here. I mean, you pause it right here, and you got to give some credit to his offensive line. I mean, just creating a huge gap right there, but just the uniqueness of his size and his power. Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. I mean, just 2 players that they might be 2 first-round picks. I have Price in the 2nd round. I think that'd be a steal at that point. But these are just 2 elite running backs that I think they're going to make a whole lot of noise. But next, we'll get into the stats in just a moment. But I mean, there's just so much to talk about, Beth. These are 2 great prospects. How do you think that each of them translate to the NFL level?
I think, honestly, the way they translate to the NFL level is with the NFL, we can sometimes see the running game kind of going down, especially with everyone wants the big throws, they want the big passes. But honestly, I think the most fun part of the NFL is watching the running game. And so I think, honestly, with these 2 prospects, it really works out in that favor.
Yeah, truly. We see the stats here, 113, 674, and 11 touchdowns. And, I mean, not to mention, guys, this was the number 2 option on this team. I mean, imagine if he was number 1. These are 2 incredible prospects. But next, I want to talk about another amazing prospect, an amazing athlete. This is a tight end, as we mentioned earlier, but someone that looks like a whole lot more than that. I mean, he runs like a wide receiver. He can block like a tight end. He can do it all. Beth, tell me about Kenyon Sadiq.
I mean, what can we not play about Sadiq? I want to go ahead and look at this man's amazing highlights because I just think he's honestly just that good of a football player. He was his top recruit out of Idaho for college. He has not missed a single game at Oregon, which I think honestly puts him as a really good player too. He has 747 snaps, a 67% reception, and only 6 drops. His PFF score is a 70.4, which is minus 10 points from last season. So I think that is something to take in consideration with him, that I think he's a really good player all the way around. But this past season, he has struggled a bit more than he did his sophomore season. But despite that, I mean, what can you not see about him? He does everything. Look at this. He's literally catching the ball, going backwards into the end zone. And I cannot do that. I don't think anyone else can. And I think that is just so impressive as him being from Oregon. He can find all the blocks. He can find whatever he wants. He can be there. If you let him get the ball, he's going to run straight down that field. And that is so important for teams to know. And as the NFL, as I just said, I love a run game. I love the run game in the NFL. And so I love to see him go and just do whatever he can. He can get around anyone. He can block. He can be a tight end. He can be a wide receiver. He can be whatever teams need him to be, in all honesty. And I think that it just makes him so amazing. He's on the first team all Big Ten team. He had 51 receptions. He had 560 receiving yards and 8 receiving touchdowns. And that man is just amazing, and I cannot wait to see what he does in the NFL. And I think teams might be a little stupid if they don't get him up quickly.
Yeah, guys, I think he could go a little earlier than a lot of people expect, but this is a player that he can beat you with his size. He can beat you, though, with his speed. He ran a 3.39 40-yard dash as a tight end. I mean, that is faster than wide receivers in this draft, so absolutely incredible. But I do want to talk about a wide receiver coming up next. You guys both had some things to say about him. Another player who I think could rise and maybe go a little earlier in this draft than expected. That is Texas A&M's very own Casey Concepcion.
Yes, I believe that Casey Concepcion is, if not the best, one of the best receivers in this draft class. He is doing absolutely great, and I don't want to waste any time, so let's just go ahead and look at these highlights. He's been doing insane things. He's great at the kick return as well as being a receiver. He's shifty enough to elude the defense and quick enough to make sure he gets past them if they don't catch him to the end zone. He led the team with 61 receptions, 919 yards, and 9 touchdowns, and he started all 13 games at Texas A&M. And with his quarterback, he's able to, immediately off the ball, break that tackle, move horizontally, and able to make it all the way up the field. And, just make sure that he can get that. Even in contact, he's going to jump up, get the ball in these tight spaces, and just make sure that he will come down with the ball no matter where you throw it to him, as long as he doesn't drop it. He is one of the quickest receivers in terms of tight spaces that I've seen in a long time. And, within the first 2 levels, he really is one of the best receivers out there, able to move around and just, almost like a Doug Baldwin, but a lot more shifty.
Yeah, this is a player that is very interesting and a bit polarizing. He had some ups and downs at Texas A&M. You mentioned some of those drops, but this is a player who is not afraid to bet on himself. He released a statement today that I'm going to read in part because he showed some confidence and he sent a message to NFL GM saying, "I'm the best receiver in this draft. You're not going to regret calling my name. Never." And I mean never. Did I stutter? KC. So Casey Concepcion has no lack of confidence that he is the very best receiver in this draft. But Beth, I want to ask you, what do you think of his tape, and do you think he really is the best?
I don't think he is the best. I just don't think he is the best. I want to go ahead and roll his highlights, and I want to point a few things out about him as we go through these. This was only his year at A&M this season. He was Rookie of the Year at NC State. He had 657 snaps this season, 60% receptions, and 7 drops. And he's also averaging 6 drops a season. And I think that's honestly a little ridiculous for someone claiming to be the best wide receiver going into the NFL draft, because I don't want my wide receiver to have 6 drops a season. And so I think it might be a little too cocky of him to say all of these things. He's very good at what he does, do not get me wrong. He is so fast at what he is on that field. He's amazing at finding gaps on the field. But also something to say about Casey is that he's a little bit of a smaller man, and I say that as someone who's also pretty short too. But he just kind of gets beat up on that field. And the problem with that is when he gets beat up, he gets tired. The same way that Texas A&M got tired this season. They did super well. They didn't even lose a game. And they played Texas, my favorites, and they did lose. And so that was a problem. Just as he got tired and the team was relying on their main wide receiver, he got tired and the team lost. And so I think, honestly, going into the playoffs with NFL, do you want a wide receiver that gets beat up, that gets tired, they're not going to be good for your playoff run. You make it to the Super Bowl and your wide receiver gets beat up too much. What are you going to do? So to claim that you're the best wide receiver, I don't see it, honestly.
All right, it's interesting. This is a player that I think could go a lot higher than some people expect. I think teams are in on him, but there's some concerns as well. So, Dom, I'll ask you, how are you feeling about him and his ability to translate his game to the NFL level?
Right, so I mean, with these guys that are smaller, around the 6-foot mark, and 196 is his weight, it really depends because, when you get these shiftier guys, like an Odell when he was younger, and maybe, these smaller guys, that's not really what you see. It really depends. I mean, he's willing to, get those receiving yards. 9-19, that's no slack in college. And those 9 receptions, he can get up there. I think translating to the NFL, he'll have some problem with these, smaller guys that do make it to the NFL. He really just, gets there, and then I think it's going to take him about a year or two to become a solid starter.
Okay, fair point. 9-19, 9 touchdowns, not too bad, but it's going to be very interesting to see. No lack of confidence from KC, but we'll have to see if his game can translate the way he says it will. However, we're going to go to break and talk some defensive players and break down their film coming up next.
Hey, are you here for the premiere? Come take a sneak peek with us.
Stop. No.
Trust me, you don't want to miss this.
Has this ever happened to you?
My bike is gone.
Stolen bikes are an epidemic sweeping college campuses across America.
What am I supposed to do?
It's quite simple. The We Mean Green Fund has partnered with the UNT Police Department to offer free bike locks to any UNT student with a bike. Just show up with your bike in tow and ask.
Now I'll never lose my bike ever again.
Enough worrying. Get your bike lock today.
Welcome back to the SportsZone NFL Draft Special. I'm your host, Steven Lucero, and we just got finished talking about some of the best offensive players in this draft. Now we're going to talk some defense. Go to the other side of the ball because there's a whole lot of talent defensively in this draft. We're going to start it off. Miguel Flores joining me along with Quaves Cherry. So guys, so much to talk about. I want you to start us off, Miguel, though, with one of the best cornerbacks in this draft in Mansour Delane.
Yeah, 100%. Mansour is my favorite corner in this draft. He is scrappy, competitive, just the guy that you want on your team. And he plays at 100% full speed. He should be off the board early. Let's go ahead and take a look at his tape. Very physical player, by the way, and he's not afraid to use his hands. Just an awesome corner. He's a technician on the field, and he can play really well to coverage. Right here, we're going to see him play really good in press. This is one of his best talents. He's really good in press coverage, and the receiver is going to make a move that he's able to stay ahead of him with his speed, that he has to advantage to go and put himself in a position to make this play here. Just an awesome player. Here's another one. Like I said, he's a technician, so he knows exactly where to be. He's in the film room, he uses his leverage, and here he's going to read the quarterback's eyes to make a lurk and go over and come ahead and grab this interception, which is another great play. He uses his speed and he definitely is in the film room, so that's awesome. Another thing, LSU's in palms here. He's going to be sitting over here in the flat where he's ready to make this play because he knows where his safety needs to be and he's going to be high. He knows he doesn't need to cover that assignment, so he's going to go over here and get the pass break up on this corner, which you love to see. This is one of my favorite plays by him because, like I said, he's constantly got his eyes in the backfield. It isn't the best thing, but he does it well. This route, Cade Klubnik, he reads him like a book. He's just going to go back, drop, make it set, and then again, he's lurking. He's going to go up and make the play. He's an absolute stud, and I'd love to have him on my team.
Yeah, Mansour Delane is my #1 cornerback in this draft, and I think you just convinced me even more right there. You know, he's just such a talent, always in the right place at the right time. Tell me about some of these stats here.
Yeah, he's great. And look, you can look at this all you want for LSU. This is his worst season statistically in college, and I think that is partially because he's playing in the SEC, a lot more run defense. So you're not going to see as much in the passing game, but he balled out this year, and I think that in the NFL, whenever they are getting more throw heavy, he'll do really good for an NFL team.
Yep, he's just such a talent, and I can't wait to see where he goes. I really think that he could be very high in this draft, but I want to talk now to the line and talk some edge rushers. Start us off, Q, with David Bailey.
David Bailey, Mr. David Bailey, where do I start? You are a Texas Tech Raider who went absolutely nuclear. Let's not waste too much time. Let's just roll the tape here. I'll give you a little breakdown of his years. In 2022, he got All-American on Stanford, along with most outstanding freshmen. In 23 and 24 for Stanford, he led the team in tackle for losses, sacks, and forced fumbles. In 25, he just went absolutely nuclear, tying the lead sack leader, 14.5 sacks in the FBS. Second in tackle for losses at 19.5. Let's bump it up and just give him 20. And along with some accolades, an All-American, Newcomer of the Year, Conference D Lineman of the Year, and a finalist for the Lombardi Trophy. This Lombardi Trophy, not to be confused with the NFL one, is just for the best lineman in the nation. Now, we can go into his strengths. He is a speed rusher with that 4.5 speed. Linemen have to be on ball at all times, or otherwise that bend is so beautiful, he's going to get around you and get to that quarterback. He has such active hands in engaging his blocker. He'll have one hand on the lineman, another hand ready to rip that ball out. He had 3 PBUs and 3 forced fumbles doing that exact same thing. Now, where we do see some concerns, because of his somewhat lack of power here, he will go for finesse moves instead of engaging moves when it comes to the run game. But David Bailey, in my opinion, is the best edge rusher in this draft.
Some incredible stats for David Bailey as we look at it. 32 tackles, 14.5 sacks, and 19.5 tackles for loss. This is an incredibly productive player. He was amazing at Texas Tech. Obviously, that's Big 12 competition compared to perhaps the SEC or Big 10, but he was incredibly just dominant throughout the season. I think this is the safe prospect. As we talked about the potential number 2, number 3 picks, This is where I had the Jets going because I think they're going to bank on just production and safety. However, if it was me, I would go a different edge / linebacker. And for me, that's a guy I want to talk about next, Miguel, Arvell Reese.
Yeah, Arvell Reese is kind of that hybrid player. He's a unicorn. He's played edge, he's played outside linebacker, and I think that he's going to be someone who has major boom or bust potential. I know he's one of the favorites, but I think that there are some things he could definitely work on. And let's go ahead and take a look at this tape so we get more into it. Here he is. I want to start off with accepting him as an edge rusher. Here he is coming off against Minnesota. It's not the prettiest, but he's got a high motor, which is what you really love to see in those D-line, and he's going to go ahead and make that finishing play. Just really fast, really technical on there. This is one thing that I love about him is he has speed, which you love to see in an outside linebacker. He's going to read the play and make the play. He's very quick. He's got that lateral speed that you love to see, and for his frame, 6'4", 240, moving at like insane pace. This is one of my favorite plays against Damon Williams Jr. in Washington. He's in a QB spy, which Ohio State used with him a lot. He's going to use this play to his advantage and read Damon's eyes really well, and he doesn't let it shake him. He breaks the block, and he's going to go off and get there with his speed, which you love to see in an edge rusher again. And this is one of my favorite plays. Coming in on a bull rush, if you have your offensive lineman looking like that, get him off the roster. Or it's just Arvell Reese doing it to him. Just insanely talented. He's going to shove him into the quarterback and finish the play. I love Arvell Reese. I think he's a really great player. He will be a project depending on where they put him, because I think he'd be better as an outside linebacker off ball. You can see the sack numbers aren't there, but Matt Patricia in his scheme didn't help. He was using him a lot off ball and using him a lot in QB spies. So
I'll just say, Miguel, I really like him as an outside linebacker. He's so dynamic, and athleticism would be wasted on the edge. He can cover tight ends, running backs out the backfield, and he stacks blitzes way too well just to be a 3 or 4 down lineman or edge rusher.
100%.
Yeah, it's very interesting. These are two different players, but I think two players that are very much being played at 2 and 3 for the Jets or Cardinals. I mean, Arvell Reese, he can be that linebacker. He can be that edge rusher. He reminds me a little of Micah Parsons, someone who kind of started off ball, but has really found his strength at edge. We'll have to see, but his potential is through the roof. Really high ceiling guy. David Bailey, to me, he's a high floor guy. It's going to be interesting to see where they go. But as long as we're talking about Ohio State, I want to talk about perhaps my favorite defensive player in this draft, and that is Sonny Styles.
Sonny Styles. You were a former safety turned linebacker, and honestly, standing at your measurables, I have no idea how you even thought at being a safety. You are a linebacker at heart. Let's roll the tape here while I talk about him here. So in 23 and 24, he had honorable mentions in second teams. 25 this year, another second team, but he also got an All-American, and he is an impeccable tackler. He scrapes quickly through linemen while still maintaining his leverage. He slips through blocks using that athleticism and size. He's able to make himself super skinny and get through these offensive linemen and tackles with ease. Now, what we see here with a bit of inconsistencies here, he is a bit of an average blitzer. You know, that's still something you can work on, but if you want him a production right off the gate, he will be an average blitzer. But he can read the QB's mind and tells super crazy. What we see here with Miami, he's looking at the inside receiver crazy, and all the tells here, halfback too wide, tight end too wide. This is, with the motion, this is just going to be a jet play, but Sonny already knew that from the jump. You can see him blitz towards this gap right here and just get immediately skinny. Look at that. Boom, right there. He is, in my opinion, probably the best and most polished defender in this draft.
Yeah, this is a player that draft stock has risen exponentially after his incredible combine performance. This is a linebacker, yes, but you said it, Q. He's a former safety, and that's exactly how he tested. Some of his numbers looked like they could be a wide receiver. I mean, absolute insanity from Sonny Styles. To me, truly a can't-miss prospect, a top 3 on my big board, and it's just going to be incredible to see what he can do.
About to say, he's excellent at pass coverage. I should have harped on that a little more. He's like, I think everyone's NFL comparison is Fred Warner and Luke Kuechly.
Yep.
I can't wait to see this kid in the league.
Yeah, I don't think you can get much better of a comparison than those two. But he's my far away number 1 linebacker. But however, my number 2 linebacker is pretty good as well. Talk to me about C.J. Allen.
C.J. Allen is probably my favorite linebacker in this draft class between the ears. He's definitely got it. He's going to be a green dot guy in the future, and I just love to see him. Again, we're going to go with the comparison to Luke Kuechly, which is a lot of weight on his shoulders, but I think that he can do it. Let's go ahead and take a look at this tape here. This is against Florida. Now, to the viewer, a lot of these plays are short because he makes the plays. Immediately, he's reading the coverage, and he's diagnosing it quick as heck, and he just moves there. Very fast. He's going to get off the block and go get Jaden Ball, who's a big guy. This one, again, comes off the block really well against Mississippi State, and he's going to read the play well, and finish the play as well. Just a great guy. He's a thumper. He's got it between the ears, like I said, coming off blocks, very skilled. This is a different play against Jaden Ball again where he's moving in. Look at this, all the highlights just in one game versus Florida. This is insane. This is one of my favorite plays for CJ Allen. You see him almost trip, high motor guy. He doesn't give up on plays. Those guys at Georgia, they do not quit, and not here. Look at this, he's gonna track him down and finish the tackle for him. And this is another one against Florida. This is actually my favorite play for CJ Allen. He's gonna go, and he does have interception skills. He's gonna go climb that ladder for Florida, make the tackle, and he's gonna move on. Exactly, put him on the top 10. He's awesome to watch. I think that, like we said, mentally he's there. He's someone who I'd want on my team, especially at Georgia where he had to step up early. Playing as a freshman in the SEC is not hard. I think he's got plenty of experience, and he will definitely be one of the best linebackers this year.
Yeah, playing freshman in the SEC is very difficult. The Georgia Bulldogs have a defense that is historically great, and CJ Allen definitely contributed to that. He's an incredible prospect. But finally, I want to talk about another sort of hybrid linebacker, perhaps. This is a player that I think we're a little bit more polarizing. You know, this is a player that looks great on the stat sheet, but the tape might tell a different story. Tell me about Harold Perkins Jr.
Harold Perkins Jr., you are a linebacker. I don't want to even call you a linebacker. You're an athlete. You're positionless because I simply can't find a position for you on the field. He's too light to play linebacker. In the following tapes that will roll in a little bit, he's just too light. He can't take on blocks well. His motor's too low, and he's just too light. Every block he takes, it's like he's taking a shotgun shot and just falling back. Like right here. You'll see him right here, staying here, blocking to oblivion. Lucky his compadres over here taking the tackles for him, but he's just almost a non-factor in the run game. Head down, neck down, broken neck. Like that's not how you tackle. I'm not even a linebacker at heart either. Watch, it's just gonna be a rollout from Case and Klubnik. Look, boom. Like if a college wide receiver running back is doing to you like this, like I can't imagine what the NFL is. He's the point man right here, and he gets taken 7 yards back. Like 10 for decoration here, but like, can we lock it in, please? And we have a low motor. You're gonna see him come to the left side of the field. Boom. And he's like, I can't with this kid. And then right now, this is going to be a cover 2. This is where he's going. Clemson's running a fake jailbreak screen, and he's just not where eyes need to be. Eyes should be on the QB, takes a 5-step drop, still bites on the screen, and leaves his cornerbacks hanging for a 40-yard gain. It's going to be a cover 1 hole where he is the middle defender. Clemson is going to be running a mesh concept. He's supposed to clean up any drag routes his corner doesn't get. We'll see Malloy here, down here, gets checked, doesn't do anything, stare at the QB, flat feet, we get a 30 or 40-yard gain straight to the 5-yard line. Like, this kid isn't good. Yes, he led his team in interceptions, tackle for losses, and sacks. But this is a great example of how box score doesn't tell the full story. Like, I've heard people call him a day 1 pick, day 2 pick. Day 2 is reaching. He's good around day 3.
All right, so the stats are there, but the tape, maybe not so much. Definitely some great analysis there, Q. But we're going to move over and talk maybe some hotter takes coming up next with the Peanut Gallery.
Hey Alex, this guy on the internet says he wants to give me money.
That sounds suspicious.
What do you mean?
Typically, strangers who promise you money on the internet have their own best interest in mind. They often use bounced checks, which will disappear shortly after depositing, but not before they've asked for some money in return.
So he doesn't really want to spoil me?
No.
Well, then what should I do?
The best way to handle it is to block and report the suspicious message, or even consult local law enforcement if you've already fallen victim.
So I guess we aren't going to Key West for spring break.
No.
Property Brothers have won!
Glad to me means a safe space. It means a place where I can just kind of hang out, have fun, and just be around other queer people. There's drag shows that we attend, other movie screenings in collaborations with some of the film guilds. We run fundraisers for both charities and for our own organizations. Just the general support from everybody, it blew me away, and I had never really seen that from an organization before, so I was like, screw it, I'll join.
Hola, Rieros! We're NTTV's longest-running Spanish entertainment show, and we're all about culture, creativity, and community in Spanish.
Vámonos.
Welcome back to the Sports Zone Draft Special. We have an entire panel of analysts here joining me. We have the Peanut Gallery, and we're going to talk some of our hottest takes in this year's draft. So joining me to talk about it, we have Jaden Crumpton, Carson Stark, Tina Orozco, and at the board, John Phillips. So guys, we have all kinds of hot takes to talk about. We're going to get into them all, and I know John is itching to go. John, give me your hot take for the 2026 NFL Draft.
You had to get the hot take master to go first. I get it. My hot take for the draft is that Fernando Mendoza will set the passing yards or passing touchdown record for a rookie. I think that Fernando Mendoza, we saw when Dom watched the tape, he is an absurd talent. He has an incredible arm, and he is just so accurate. He reminds me a lot of Matt Ryan, I think. He's a big-bodied quarterback. He can really make those throws, and I think going to Vegas where they have Kubiak as their head coach now, I think that's an explosive offense. Brock Bowers as the #1 option. I think that offense is going to be a lot better than people expect. And I mean, 31 touchdowns, I think that's something Mendoza can get to easily in his rookie year, I think.
All right, guys, that's some high praise for a player that's gotten a whole lot of high praise throughout college. So this is definitely a bold take. But Jaden, how are you guys feeling about this?
I definitely have something to say about this. For Fernando Mendoza, if he's going to Las Vegas, they just signed Kirk Cousins. I don't think they're going to play him as a rookie, and I don't think they should. To me, Fernando Mendoza clearly is the better prospect than the quarterback out of Alabama, but they are just as much as projects. Like, Fernando Mendoza is not a guy that's coming in day one and is going to start and do well if he does. I don't think he's that. He has some issues with the accuracy. He has some issues, getting kind of panicky when he sees pressure breaking down. And he's very athletic, but it's not, athletic enough to where that's going to help him succeed in the NFL. That's not going to fly against an NFL defense. So I think he still has some stuff to work out before he can produce at this level, which I think he can at some point in his career, but it's not as a rookie.
Okay, Jaden, I think that's kind of a hot take in itself. I mean, this is the #1 pick, presumably, and of course, Heisman Trophy winner, national champion. Yes, you bring in Kirk Cousins, I think, as that mentor role. Maybe he starts, but you think Fernando Mendoza's not quite ready? How are you feeling about this, guys?
I think I have to disagree with Jaden. I think Mendoza's talent under pressure, I think he could be able to make a pretty good rookie season, maybe not record-setting, but rookie season just overall. I think he can perform under pressure. We saw that in the whole last half of this past season. I believe he could undergo the pressure of a rookie season.
I have a lot of opinions about Mendoza and maybe that quarterback at Alabama, but for now, I'd like to say I didn't think of the perspective that Jaden had. I forgot about the Kirk Cousins signing the Raiders made, and I think Mendoza could greatly benefit from being behind Kirk Cousins. I think if you watch the film, he does struggle sometimes at under pressure throws and some tight windows if you just watch the film and the eye test of it. But, I mean, he's a heck of a player nonetheless. I think that something else that concerns me is the weapons that the Raiders have outside of Brock Bowers. Of course, they have Ashton Jeanty, which, of course, Mendoza had a great run game at Indiana. I think that'll help translate to the Raiders who are trying to beef up their offensive line. But I kind of worry about the outside receivers. I think they have guys like Trey Tucker out there. I don't know if those are the most reliable guys that are going to be going against NFL defenses, especially out there in the AFC West.
All right, some interesting takes. Mendoza, some people have compared him as much as to Joe Burrow. I think that's a little extreme for me. I don't think he sets these records, more so not to a fault of his own, but simply because I just don't think the Raiders as a team are ready for that quite yet. But John, last take. How do you feel about all of this?
I think that the offensive talent might not be there at wide receiver yet, but I think if something like Omar Cooper to the Raiders, like Ian Cropper had in that mock draft segment happens, I think having that wide receiver 1 really will help. But I think that showed with the Seahawks that he can scheme elite offenses with anyone. But, Kenneth Walker injured, boom, the offense is still elite. So I think that the Raiders are going to be a lot better offensively than people expect, to be honest.
All right, there we go. We're going to play some musical chairs here. Jaden, go over there to the board, run over there, and tell us your hot take.
So I want to talk about a Texas guy from Texas, played college in Texas. That's Jacob Rodriguez out of Texas Tech, linebacker. His main complaint that people have been talking about is that he's undersized. And I want to give you this. If you've never gone and watched Jacob Rodriguez highlights, turn on that tape, come back and tell me you don't get fired up. Jacob Rodriguez, dog or not, I think he's a dog. Jacob Rodriguez is super athletic, super quick. He flies around the field. He's the exact kind of guy you want anchoring the middle of your defense. In the pass game, he's so good. His instincts are so good. He's a former quarterback. He knows the pass game so well. Against the run, like I said, he's a super high motor tackler. The only complaint, kind of going back to his size, is that he can't necessarily, be down in the trenches getting past guards, but that's okay. You don't have to play them that way. In the modern NFL, Jacob Rodriguez can be a guy who can play at a really high level, succeed at a really high level, and have a lot of value, even if he can't play into that, being down in the trenches for the run game. I think he's amazing in the pass game and in the open field, an amazing tackler. I think he's really being undervalued.
All right, Jacob Rodriguez, a big-time name. He was incredible at Texas Tech. He is my number 3 linebacker in the class, just behind Sonny Styles and C.J. Allen, who we talked about earlier. But, guys, I have him going day 2 in the second round. And honestly, I think that's kind of where he's at with teams. However, I think that would be an absolute steal if that's where he goes. How are you guys feeling about Jacob Rodriguez?
I mean, I think he is a dog, but sadly, that dog is a Chihuahua. I mean, he just does not have the size, I don't think. And I mean, yes, he has the instincts in the passing game, but that's what you want from a safety. And he has safety size, but is he athletic enough to drop down to safety? I don't think so. And I just don't know if you can't really get past those guards, like Jaden said. I don't know if you're a productive NFL linebacker.
Man, all right, so some interesting takes. Jaden and John beefing a little bit, but Tina and Carson, how are you guys feeling about Rodriguez?
I think that Jaden has great points. I think John has terrible points.
Of course.
I'm just kidding. I believe that if he does go round 2, like Steven mentioned, it would be a steal for any team that picks him up. This is Texas Tech. I mean, I don't know how many linebackers we've had recently that have been in real deal Heisman conversations. And even in the game, forgive me for being a bad journalist, but I forget who they did not put a point up against in the playoffs. But their defense played great in that game, and I think a lot of it had to do with Jacob Rodriguez. I think that the concerns that John has with his run game and his size are valid, but I want to say that Bobby Wagner is an undersized linebacker who in the NFL became a pretty good tackler and a pretty good player in the trenches when it came to the guards and the B gaps and the A gaps. But I think his ability just to roam the field in the middle of the field whenever offenses are dropping back to pass and he's reading that quarterback, I think it's going to be really tough. Like, oh no, number 10 is there, whatever number he might wear in the NFL. It's like he's a guy that you have to go out there and he's a focal point. And just because of his leadership and his ability to cover the pass, that's why he'll be a great NFL player.
I think the Bobby Wagner comparison is great because he had elite run-stopping safeties behind him at every stop that in his career. In Seattle, he had Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas. I think he benefited from not having to be as active in the run game, and he was able to use those instincts. If he ends up in a situation like that, I could see really good things for Jacob Rodriguez. I don't know.
I mean, shout out to Lubbock. But Rodriguez was the center of one of the best defenses in college football this whole last season. I think he's so high IQ, he's focused, he's mature, and he has such a leading presence. I think he is a dog, and nah, he's not a Chihuahua.
Yeah, you mentioned it, Carson. Tech did have a rough go against Oregon there in the playoffs, but I think he was incredible all season long. I think he's earned this spot. Jaden, one last take. Where do you think
I just want to say, I think sometimes when you talk about the size, it all just goes back to one thing. He's a dog. I don't think it matters. I just don't think it matters. I think he's too good. I think he's too smart. I think he's just bound to succeed at whatever level he plays at, which is now going to be the NFL.
Yeah, so we all agree he's a dog. What type of breed, I think there might be some debate, but we're going to play some more musical chairs. Tina, let's get into your hot take.
Alrighty, y'all. I have the Eagles' first pick is going to be an offensive tackle. However, I think it's going to be Caden Proctor over Monroe Feeling. Obviously, the Eagles had some O-line issues this past season. Pretty underwhelming. I think they could get the support from Caden Proctor. He's a junior from Alabama. He's 6'6", 350 pounds. He's an absolute corn-fed unit. And I think they could use his power, use his anchor to the best ability on that O-line. He also, in comparison to Freeling, has just more experience. He has 40 games, 35 starts. He just seems a little bit more pro-ready in comparison to Freeling, who only had 17 starts. He also has some issues with his handwork, and his just experience is questionable in comparison to Proctor.
All right, so, this is very interesting because Caden Proctor, I think, is a prospect that's risen over the last couple weeks in this draft. His stock has gone a little bit up. Great prospect from Alabama. There are, some of these concerns that we talked about. But I kind of agree with this take. I think that it could happen. I do have Monroe Freeling going pretty high as well. But the Eagles, it'd be interesting to see who they would prefer. It's very tough, to project. But I like Caden Proctor a whole lot. How are you guys feeling?
I think the biggest thing with this is that Monroe Freeling has that experience at left tackle. A lot of the elite tackles in this class are right tackles only. And I think Caden Proctor is someone who you would want to play at right tackle. And with Freeling's athletic upside, even though he doesn't have the experience, I'm betting on Freeling 100% of the time because of that left tackle experience.
I think that's fair, but however, for a team like the Eagles, who may be seeing Lane Johnson towards the tail end of his career, maybe this is someone you try to develop. I could definitely see that as well.
36 years old. He's almost done.
Yep.
They're wrapping it up. They're trying to fulfill that position soon.
I love Lane, but yeah, he's getting up there. Father Time catches up eventually. I think this could be a very good replacement. How are you guys feeling?
I think Proctor is a guy that's going to have to move inside the guard. That's a lot of talk here. And
potential as well.
Not that he couldn't be a good guard, but a guard is a lot less valuable than a tackle at the NFL level. I also like to say, I think at 23, Freeling's going to be off the board already. He's a guy that's projected, to go pretty high in these drafts. But I don't think Caden Proctor is a bad pick for the Eagles at all. They need to shore up that O-line. Even if it is a guard, I think that's still a great fit. They've always had their bread and butter, been their work in the trenches on both sides of the ball, and especially their run game. And I think Caden Proctor definitely helps that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have Monroe Freeling going at 17 to the Detroit Lions, and I actually have the 49ers trading up to 20 to take Caden Proctor. So both of them jumping the Eagles, kind of interesting there, but we'll see. Tina, one last take. How do you think he translates his game to the NFL? Do you think he's a tackler or do you think he's a guard?
Who's Proctor?
Yes.
Yes, I think he's more of a tackle. I think just that pure power. I think he's just got it on that line. No one can come near him. We saw that in his college performance.
All right, we're going to switch one last time. Carson, get over there to that board and tell us your hot take.
So I might have the hottest take in the last block of SportsZone this year. But I want to say that Ty Simpson, I believe, has a higher ceiling than Fernando Mendoza. I know that Fernando Mendoza just put up an insane season, brought the Indiana Hoosiers to a title run in dominating fashion. That Miami game was close, but he beat the crap out of Ty Simpson at Alabama. But I believe that, like I mentioned earlier, with some of the concerns with Mendoza, with his tight window throws, with his ability to not really throw well under pressure, I think it kind of causes concern with his pocket presence and things like that. Another thing I think that greatly benefited Mendoza was his run game. He had 2,000-yard rushers. If you look at Alabama, they only had one rusher that had 500 yards. And also, I think Tina just mentioned with Caden Proctor, he was really their only solid and reliable offensive lineman this year. Outside of that, they were the 84th ranked offensive line. Now, a lot of that you could say has to do with Nick Saban leaving, but that's the fact of the matter. They had the 84th best offensive line in the nation that gets all these five-star guys. So I think that was really tough on Ty Simpson. He only threw, I believe, 5 interceptions this year, and he just shows a lot on film that looks pro-ready to me. I do want to mention one more thing, though. I believe that with Mendoza and Ty Simpson, they could greatly benefit from, taking a year back. I know that the Rams have a late first-round pick for, I think, the first time in a long time they have a first-round pick. But I think if he goes to a team like the Rams and he can learn from Matthew Stafford, who's playing amazing ball, but, he's still getting up there in age, someone like Sean McVay could really develop Ty Simpson to be a good NFL quarterback.
Okay, Carson, you articulated that really nicely. That was, I applaud you for that. But what? I mean, this is a player in Ty Simpson. I have a day 2 grade on him. I think he could be a solid second-round, third-round quarterback, better than the number 1 pick. This is wild. And I think, guys, we have a tendency, because I want to go to the 2-shot and get John here next to me, because last year on this very show, on this very segment, you had a certain Alabama quarterback named Jalen Milroe being the best quarterback in last year's draft.
I did. I think that this comparison is kind of the opposite of last year, though. I think Carson mentioned it really well. Ty Simpson didn't have the supporting cast that Mendoza had, which you really don't usually have with Bama quarterbacks kind of struggling in the supporting cast. But I don't agree with this. I was going to make an offense, but no. I think Carson's just kind of wacky right now.
Wacky?
Just wacky. I do not see Ty Simpson being better than Mendoza. I think Mendoza has a better arm. I think he has better size. I think he's more accurate. I don't really see the argument for Ty Simpson above, but you made a great argument. Good job right there.
Hey, shout out Ty Simpson, man. Always proves me right. It's a hot take. Got to get a little, Got to get a little dicey.
That was like burning hot, though. I'm a little scared.
It's not that hot. It's
not that hot. Not better than the number 1 pick. I don't know, guys.
There's hotter. There's definitely hotter.
There's hotter. All right. But guys, those were our hot takes. I think that's an incredible way to finish it. But we're going to move over to our next segment and talk some UNT prospects and their potential future draft stock with a special guest coming up next.
This is Jibber Jabber. Yes, Jibber Jabber.
Jibber Jabber is a man-on-the-street NTTV show for Instagram that's in its 7th season. With 2 hosts, 1 comfy chair, and a Would You Do Something bowl.
Pretty much the gist of our show is that we're going to be inviting UNT students, all of our lovely family over, and we're going to be talking to them. And when we run out of things to say, we're going to ask them,
Would you do something?
I think we're ready to do something.
Fortnite son or Minecraft daughter?
Measles vaccines, coverage
Good evening, and thank you for joining us on NTTV Nightly News. I'm Edison Stewart.
And I'm Alexandria Teeters.
She was the oldest woman to ever medal in the slalom run. So I believe that she's now the youngest. Yes, the youngest and the oldest.
Prominent women's sports is right now, especially when women's hockey is one of the biggest growing sports in the world right now.
If somebody told you, kind of coming back to the past and telling your past self that this team would be 1 win away from making the college football playoff, how would you react knowing that you've covered this team for so long?
Let's talk a little bit about the strengths of this UNT basketball team. Like, what are we good at? When it comes to UNT, we've always been a slower paced team, and that has continued into the Daniel Robinson era.
And welcome to a very special edition of Prove It or Lose It. Matthew.
Can I have Silverstone? It's the only name that looks familiar.
Welcome back to the NTTV SportsZone Draft Special. I'm your host, Steven Lucero, and we're back for one more block to talk about UNT. UNT had a historic football season last year, and I want to talk about some of their top guys. Joining me to talk about it, Matthew McDowell and Houston Hall. Guys, there are some incredible prospects that, you know, potentially could be in this draft. Maybe not drafted, but maybe we could see them as some UDFA options. Lots of great guys and lots of great players that I want to talk about one more time before they make their way to either the NFL or Oklahoma State, North Texas as I call them. So let's get into it. I'll start with you first, Houston. Tell me about one of your top seniors from UNT.
Top seniors from UNT, I'm going to have to go with Cam Dorner right off the bat. I mean, he was second leading receiver for UNT last season with 911 yards. I mean, it's a pretty textbook answer, to be honest with you. He measured great numbers at the UNT Pro Day. 6 foot 2 inches tall, which is obviously a great number for that NFL frame, as well as a 43-inch vertical. So Cam Dorner, to me, is, out of the UNT product, really one of the most textbook guys at the next level.
Yeah, guys, Cameron Dorner was an incredible wide receiver, too, for Wyatt Young last year. He just was, I think, kind of one of the unsung heroes of this team. You know, he was always there making plays, played in every game this season, and had a catch at least in every game. So, Matthew, what do you think about Cameron Dorner?
I mean, I think he's a guy that, like, you know, when you look at a wide receiver prospect that, you know, isn't a day one or day two guy, you just want a guy that overall is an athlete, overall guy that can, you know, make a difference. And if we have someone who, you know, has a 43-inch vertical and, you know, puts up 900 yards in a season, I think that's what you call an athlete. I mean, 6'1", 195, he can, I mean, whether it's a short yardage play or he can catch bombs. He had loads of touchdowns this year that were over 30 yards, 40 yards, 50 yards. So I think he's a guy that, you know, doesn't just excel in one part of the game. And I think when you're looking at a day 3 UDFA type of guy, that's what you need. You need a guy that's not just one-dimensional. So that's what I would have to say about Dorner.
Yeah, as we roll through the highlights here, just talk me through it's sort of what you saw from him throughout this year, starting off with his first touchdown against Lamar and now into Western Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about, he's kind of the wide receiver 2 to Wyatt Young. What you did, when you look at the numbers, I mean, UNT really kind of spread the wealth all year, whether it be Miles Coleman, Caleb Hawkins, even though he's a running back, he was plenty active in the passing game, and of course Wyatt Young in the historic season he put up. So I think he's a guy that they utilized very well. They didn't just have him in one necessarily spot on the team or in the wide receiver room. So that's what I mainly liked about how UNT operated with Dorner.
Yeah, when you have 4,300 yards, there's a lot to go around, and as Matthew said, really spread the love. Cameron Dorner is a very versatile receiver. We talked about his athleticism a minute ago with the vertical there, but he's a guy that there's not a route he can't run, right? He can make plays down the field as well as he can kind of catch the ball in the screen game and make a man miss in a phone booth as well. He's not got the best straight line speed, but he's a really shifty receiver. We saw in that Temple game where he just kind of in a 15-yard drag route over the middle right off the bat. He made a couple guys miss, and it's off to the races after that.
Absolutely. Truly a great player, and I just, I hope he can find a home. Maybe it's a UDFA, maybe something like that, but he was truly a great player for UNT, and I can't wait to see what he does at the next level. But Matthew, I know you want to get into the trenches and talk about one of my favorite UNT football players from this past year. That's Gabe Blair.
Yeah, I think this is a guy that can provide more than just play on the field. I mean, you talk about what he has done at UNT, and he's a guy that, I can see when, where the players run out onto the field, his numbers and his name posted up on that wall. I think he's a guy that is multi-dimensional, on the offensive front. I think he's a guy that is really underrated. He's quote-unquote undersized. He's 6'2", 300 pounds. Arm length is a concern for him, but I think his blocking ability past just the first level is amazing. Here we'll see this play against Army. Caleb Hawkins running right off of his back into the end zone. And we're going to have a little bit of minute here highlights for Gabe Blair, now here versus South Alabama. He's the only offensive lineman that got a block on that play, and it was such a significant one. The linebacker made a business decision trying to take out Blair, and without that block, Hawkins isn't able to take it 70 yards, so very essential there. And, the rest is just Caleb Hawkins. We'll get into more with him with Oklahoma State talk, but here in the open field, second layer, he's pretty much blocks 2 guys on this play, getting the linebacker and the defensive back over the top, and who else but Caleb Hawkins running right off of his back. That's going to be a big theme of these highlights, running right next to Gabe Blair. And here, Houston, you see this gap? What can you fit in that gap?
Pickup truck.
Houston, we did not go over this beforehand, but you are 100% correct. You can fit a truck through that hole made by Gabe Blair. And speaking of truck, there's another truck on the Navy player here. Here's a great play. Here's a double team up into the second level on a linebacker. We'll see it on the film. Boom, boom again. Caleb Hawkins right next to him. Here versus Rice, here's another play where I just adore him getting into the second level, gets a body on a linebacker, and it's pretty much a red carpet for Caleb Hawkins to run right into the end zone.
Well, I think what's interesting about Gabe Blair is one of the knocks on him is his size, only about 6'2", 306, but at the UNT Pro Day, he clocked in a 5:01 40-yard dash, and that's obviously an excellent time for an offensive lineman. For comparison, that's about the same speed that you see Matthew run every day when the dining hall opens.
All right, let's relax here.
Even though he's a little bit undersized, the speed definitely makes up for it, and that's definitely going to be a good strength for him at the next level.
Yeah, it's not just speed that he's kind of elite at. Overall, he's a great guard. In those highlights, it pretty much just showed his run game effectiveness. But he was the 3rd highest graded guard according to PFF in all of the nation. So not just a guy that is one-dimensional in the run game or getting up to the second level. It's even the passing game. He can really be a big effect too.
Yeah, guys, he was incredible, and now we have a special guest with us to talk about him and some of more of our UNT players. This is our very own NTTV Sports /NT Daily reporter, Haley Stum, on assignment for us. Haley, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, of course, guys. Sorry that have to be talking ball from my car, but football waits for no one, especially in draft season. And I want to touch on both Dorner and Blair, 2 guys that I think y'all said the word unsung heroes. I think both of these guys really fit that bill. Going back to Dorner that we talked about in the first part of this segment that we've started, he has really been a receiver that UNT can lean on. There's so many routes that he can run, and you can't really say that a lot about too many receivers to where they're so versatile and fit so many different offensive schemes. He's been in talks with the Saints and 49ers, I'm sure among others, that was the intel we got from Pro Day. And there's been some serious conversation about him being a Saturday pick, but they would actually prefer if he went the UDFA route just because you can get some better contracts out of that. I think Dorner is one of those that may be a sneaky good steal if I'm an NFL team. I don't try to play GM as I am not qualified to do so, but I would say that would be a really good pick. On to Blair. Y'all touched on it already. He makes truck-sized gaps, and on his personality, he's a brooding offensive lineman. That's what his former high school Denton Geyer coach said, and I think that fits the bill for his play as well. You know what you're going to get. He fits that stereotype emotionally and physically, and that's what you want out of an offensive lineman. You want him to be predictable. This is a guy that spent 5 years in this North Texas program, and not a lot of people can say that. He's consistent with his loyalty as well, which I also think will pay off in the long run. He was a huge part of this nationally ranked offense this year, guys.
Thank you so much, Haley. I mean, some great insight on those players. And, you know, we're going to talk about the big three as well. Drew Mestemaker, Wyatt Young, Caleb Hawkins, absolutely incredible. And obviously still some time before they get to this draft level. But what are you looking to see with them going to the next level of the Big 12 in Oklahoma State?
Yeah, let's freshman quarterback last year that just emerged as such a star. He's got everything that you would want for a young quarterback, and his story speaks to that of not starting as quarterback in high school to getting you into UNT as a walk-on, and then becomes one of the best quarterbacks in the transfer portal and maybe eventually in this 2027 NFL draft class. And I think that speaks to the guy he is. He's also got all the skills that you need. And I think what's really important about those is that he's got so much room to grow. And I think that's going to be the big piece for him, is to see how he develops under head coach Eric Morris at Oklahoma State. There's still a good amount for Mestemaker to accomplish for his draft day. I think he needs to fill out his frame. And sometimes he looks like he would really want to go to that first guy sometimes, and he would get caught up in those reads. So that's just a few things that he may need to work on, and that's some things that maybe some of these really smart guys with these NFL teams are looking at in his tape, and that's something to watch out for as he's a Cowboy this year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Mestemaker, just a player that, you know, obviously just a freshman. It's crazy just to think about how much he did in such little time, and I just want to thank you, Haley, for being with us. Just some incredible insight on the road. And right before you leave, I'll ask you about Caleb Hawkins and Wyatt Young, because these are two more players, have a lot of time left. They'll all be joining together. Could you see them eventually getting to the league?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you could argue that Caleb Hawkins was the most important piece to this three-headed monster of sorts that the Mean Green had for their 2025 season. Hawkins just keeps his head down. And when I say that, I mean that in a multitude of ways. If you look at his yak yards, they were through the roof, and that's what you want out of a running back. And not only that, you couldn't ask anymore when he opened up the Mean Green offense with being able to catch some passes here and there, which really kept other opponents guessing. What stuck out to me the most is what Eric Morris said about Hawkins heading into the American Conference Championship, stating that he didn't listen to rap music or didn't get caught up in really any of the things going on in our pop culture today, and just listened to worship music and stayed grounded to who he was. And I think so often we get caught up in NIL and the transfer portal and all these athletes wanting to be these big time kids, and Caleb Hawkins is just true to the ground. I guess you could say true to the turf, because he stays low and likes to score a lot for North Texas and now Oklahoma State. And I think personality really does play a huge role into when these GMs are trying to draft kids. And you could say the same thing about Wyatt Young. He was such a Swiss Army knife for this Mean Green team, a very athletic receiver. I think that's something that will really pay off at the professional level, and that's something that they may point out in the vetting process. He's such a tough runner, and I've been a big fan of Wyatt Young since his days at Katy Tompkins, back when he was playing quarterback, and a lot of coaches like those quarterback roots, and I think that's something that really paid off with his connection to Mestemaker this year, and that will continue to help him excel as a receiver. Hopefully, we'll see him in one of these draft classes soon.
Hey, thank you so much, Haley. for the incredible interview. You did such an amazing job covering UNT football all season long. It's going to be so exciting to see what all these guys do at the next level, whether that's the NFL or Oklahoma State. So Haley Stum, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. Go Mean Green, and I've been really enjoying tuning in to the show, waiting for my turn to shine, and looking forward to speaking to y'all soon.
All right, thank you so much. That was Haley Stum, our NTTV/NT Daily Sports reporter on the road with some incredible insights. She was amazing covering the team all year long. And guys, we just covered the NFL draft. I wish we could keep going. We could talk about this forever and ever. The NFL draft is one of my favorite times of the year, and we are exactly 1 week away from the real thing. So thank you all for being with us through this draft show and for being with us all season long. This is our final show of NTTV Sports for this spring. So thank you all just for being here, for joining us all. On behalf of all of our cast and crew, all of the analysts from Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday across all of our shows, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to everyone behind the scenes in the control room, directors, technical directors, graphics, audio, VT. I like to shout them all out because you cannot make a show like this happen without everyone. To all of our sports associates and our directors, Gabby Pippins, Wyatt Schott, and Nash Lowry, thank you all. Thank you all for watching us, and thank you for another great season at NTTV Sports. Thank you for watching this incredible draft special. We will see you all next semester on SportsZone.